Hey everyone, and welcome to Tony for In Nomine Spiritus Sancti. Tony for you. The topic of angels and demons are some of the most interesting to discuss in all of Abrahamic religion. Despite this, there is very little information given about them, save what they look like and the occasional vague story involving one. Usually an archangel communing with a human or a fallen angel tempting one with sinful delights. But even among the esoteric knowledge regarding the orders of angels and demons, there has been one that has always interested me above all others: Samael. Seemingly contradictory information appears about this entity throughout history, whether he is the father of all demons and one of the first to rebel against God, or necessary evil and most faithful of the heavenly host. Let's go through all the history and lore we know and find out the truth of Samael. Samael's earliest depictions date back to the beginning of the human race. Writings from the Second Temple period between 516 BC to 70 AD had many religious texts that have been deemed non-canonical to any prominent Abrahamic religion, but still hold incredibly important knowledge as to the goings-on of the spiritual realm. For Samael, it's believed he was first mentioned in the Book of Enoch. This text chronicles the Watchers, a group of angels descending from heaven to fornicate with human women to create the Nephilim, or giants, and debase the children of God. In this three-book chronicle, Samael is believed to be one of the Watchers that descended from heaven, but not a leader or member of import in any way. Though the leader of the Watchers, named Shemyaza, sounds oddly similar to Samael. Just food for thought. The Watchers eventually meet their fate at the hands of the main four archangels, round up and plunged into the deepest pits of hell, and all their children slain. In other works, like the Talmud and other contemporaneous literature, Samael is comfortably placed as an important member of the heavenly host. Interestingly enough though, Samael still holds a very adversarial role to humans and God. In the Exodus Rabbah, Samael is explicitly said to be the chief of Satans. It's important to understand that the word Satan was not always synonymous with the devil. In fact, most uses of the word Satan in religious literature refers to angels. The word Satan in Hebrew is often translated to the word adversary, or simply one who opposes, and was often used as a title given to those who would oppose the will of someone on God's behalf, or in some cases against God himself, which, contrary to popular belief, was actually fine to do in heaven, as well as on earth. Further delving into the text reveals Samael's duties revolved around sin. Fulfilling the role of angel of death, Samael accused humans of easily falling to sin, critiquing their faithfulness to God, even getting into an argument with the archangel Michael over the people of Israel's actions during Exodus. Samael uniquely has a hand in the affairs of mortals far more than any other angel, leading humans down a path of sin and collecting souls for judgment. While he actively condones and tempts humans to sin, his role in heaven is extremely important, rooting out evil and ensuring their lack of strength and conviction leads to their downfall in the end, when the time comes to collect. While he is weeding out the weak and proving his point to God, he still remains a faithful servant to the Most High. The name Samael itself translating to venom or poison of God, a virulent infection in the minds and bodies of humans, constantly leading us to harm and the embodiment of sin itself. The first semblance of Samael and God's relationship being that of a true adversary can be understood in The Apocalypse of Barak, or Barak 3. In this book, Barak ben Neriah prays to God, pleading for an answer as to why the people of Jerusalem were captured by King Nebuchadnezzar. After doing this daily, God eventually sends an angel down to commune with Barak and show him the mysteries of heaven. Each layer of heaven is described in this book, but most interestingly, when they get to layer 3, Barak asks the angel to show him the tree that led Adam astray. To this, the angel says, "It is the vine which the angel Samael planted, whereat the Lord was angry. And he cursed him and his plant, while also on his account he did not permit Adam to touch it. And therefore the devil, being envious, deceived him through his vine." Sadly, not much information is given as to why God was so angry at the planting of this vine. But we now know that the one responsible for the fruit of knowledge being in the Garden of Eden in the first place was Samael. Presumably, the chief Satan Samael will always ensure humans have a means to destroy themselves, even if it means going against the will of God, and even if it means being cursed himself. The curse God places upon Samael and his plant is never fully explained, but whatever it was, Samael still continued in his goal of dooming humanity by deceiving Adam into eating the fruit of the cursed vine, as well as explicitly being referred to as the devil. The text goes on to further corroborate the original Genesis story, as it's explained that the serpent that tempted Adam and Eve to eat the fruit was Samael. He was either riding upon a serpent like a camel, or the serpent was being controlled by him and compelled to do his bidding. Further texts even state that Samael is the true father of Cain, the first murderer and brother of Abel. As an embodiment of sin, Samael is relentless in his preying on human downfall and will stop at nothing to see us destroyed. Whether he does this in jealousy of humans being God's favored people or in spite of God for cursing him is unknown. In the binding of Isaac, it's believed the one who commanded Abraham to sacrifice his son was Samael. Abraham rebuked the angel and embraced his son, but while he was getting blessed by God himself, Samael visited his wife Sarah and convinced her Isaac had been slain. The belief in her son's death affected Sarah so much she died immediately after hearing the news before Abraham returned. Another tale believed to involve Samael is the story of Jacob and Esau, the children of Isaac. Samael is said to be the guardian angel of Esau. In this story, Jacob and Esau were twins, but Esau was born moments before Jacob, affording him the benefit of being the firstborn. Despite this, with the help of his mother, Jacob tricked his dying father into bestowing him the very birthright meant for Esau. Jacob took advantage of his father's blindness to receive the blessing of the firstborn through trickery, which enraged Esau to such a degree that he planned to kill his brother in retribution. To save her son's life, Jacob was sent away to live with his mother's family. The years went by, but after some time, God spoke to Jacob and told him to return to his homeland. By that point, Jacob had started a family of his own and matured significantly, and despite acting so selfishly in his youth, did as God commanded. Bringing his family along, he sent his servants to inform his brother of their arrival. When they returned, however, they told Jacob Esau had rallied an army of 400 men to confront him. Jacob prayed to God and sent his family ahead of him bearing gifts in hopes that Esau would forgive him, and when night came, he was alone. It was then, in the dark, that an angel appeared, and instead of speaking, they wrestled with each other until daybreak. Seeing no clear winner, the angel touched Jacob's thigh, which gave him a limp, but still, Jacob demanded a blessing. The angel then relented and said, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome." When Jacob limped to meet Esau and his army, the brothers ran to each other and embraced, reunited regardless of past sins. Jacob would then go on to be the father of the nation of Israel. This story portrays Samael in a much more positive light, showing that man can overcome evil and even go toe-to-toe with sin itself. Though humanity is in a constant battle with sin, salvation is always given to those who repent and attempt to right their wrongs. A medieval rabbi known as Rashi believed the angel that wrestled Jacob was Samael, but the reasoning for his station varies by interpretation. Some believe he is always present to enact justice on behalf of God, while others believe the curse placed upon Samael in the times of Adam and Eve was to serve under God almost as a prisoner. One of those prison duties was to be the guardian angel of Esau. Which side is correct? No one truly knows. For Kabbalistic texts, with stories regarding Lilith, mother of all demons, Samael is often paired with her. With both their tales being that of divine beings spurned by opposing the will of God and close ties with the demonic host, their pairing makes a lot of sense. The angels feared their union so much that to stop the world from being flooded by a demonic horde, Samael was brought up to heaven and castrated, but only after countless evils were given life. Samael is often used as an inverse to the work of God, his partnership with Lilith being an unholy parallel to Adam and Eve. In the same way, the Qliphoth is also a parallel to the Sefirot. The Sefirot, or the Jewish tree of life, are the 10 attributes by which the infinite reveals itself and continuously creates both the physical and metaphysical realm. Manifestations of God's infinite light, these points in the tree are incredibly important in interpreting the world and gaining enlightenment. In turn, the Qliphoth is the unholy alternative, where there was once virtue and wisdom is now sin and ignorance. Despite it being wholly evil, the Qliphoth is said to be a shell surrounding the tree of life, and an allegory for misinterpreting the will of God. To have an incomplete understanding of God is to dwell in the Qliphoth and venerate sin and Samael instead of the infinite grace of God. Closely tied with humanity's understanding of the divine, as stated before, Samael was also the angel of death itself, reaping souls to be brought before God. In The Ascension of Moses, a 1st century Jewish apocryphal work, Moses is taken through the layers of heaven one by one by the archangel Metatron. It goes on to say, "In the last heaven, Moses saw 2 angels, each thousands of miles in height, forged out of chains of black fire and red fire. The angels Af, anger, and Hema, wrath, whom God created at the beginning of the world, to execute his will. These angels were disturbing to Moses, but he was reassured by Metatron to not be afraid, which calmed him. It was then that Moses saw an angel that was different than any other he had seen. His height was so great it would have taken 500 years to cover a distance equal to it, and from the crown of his head to the soles of his feet he was studded with glaring eyes, at the sight of which the beholder fell prostrate in awe. Unable to speak, Metatron informed Moses, "This one is Samael, who takes the soul away from man." To that, Moses could only say, "Oh, may it be to thy will, my God and the God of my fathers, not to let me fall into the hands of this angel." To see Samael is to witness death itself, a primordial fear that brings even the most holy of men to their knees begging for mercy. You may have noticed Samael freely travels from heaven, earth, and hell seemingly whenever he pleases. Whether he is portrayed as God's faithful servant or prince of all demons seems to be irrelevant to his ability to travel between the planes of existence. The more you research into this angel, the more difficult it is to even begin understanding him. Whether a servant of God clearing the sinners from the true faithful, cursed envoy of sin and punishment, or personification of death itself, the truth of Samael is shrouded in mystery. What we know for sure, though, is that sin and death are inevitable in human life. The only way to fight back is to act for the benefit of all, live with grace and charity, and understand the truths of this world. In Shin Megami Tensei, Samael is portrayed as a red serpentine being with between 2 and 10 wings. The serpentine body in reference to him often being considered the snake that tempted Adam and Eve into eating the cursed fruit in the Garden of Eden. The 10 wings possibly being in reference to him holding domain over the 10 Qliphoth surrounding the true understanding of the Sphirot, Tree of Life. The snake body also lends itself to his name meaning venom of God, while also commonly learning spells that inflict poison, and also learning spells that inflict status effects like panic and charm with his serpent tongue. Quite a simple design, and while I would have preferred a planet-sized demon that nearly destroys the mind of all who see it, what we got is fitting enough. Well, that covers Samael, the Angel of Death. Let me know your interpretation of him in the comments down below, and while you're down there, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I personally believe his interpretation as a servant of God, doing the thankless job of reaping the souls of those he planted the seed of sin into himself. Special thanks to Andre Vinicius da Silva Valens, Anton, Big T, Goose Kebab, Jim Taylor, Just a Middleman, Matt M, Mr. 8 Eyes, Stuart Ash, The Digital Dutchman, The Toaster Messiah, VideoGamer75, and many more for supporting the channel on Patreon. If you'd like to support, check the link in the description below. Thanks for watching this esoteric angel breakdown, and I'll see you in the next Tony for You. Have a good one.